she's fighting against him. She's doing no. All she had in her heart was, okay, it has happened. It's hurtful. It's not the way I planned my marriage to be. But the whole idea now is I need to protect my kids. I need to get my kids secure. So everything necessary to make my older brother, myself, and my younger sister established, great, disciplined, good children, she did it. In as much as she tried her best to provide the best way she could, she didn't still want it to be like, okay, yeah, it is always available. No, don't see it as always available. Earn it, work for it, be disciplined around it. And she trained us to the point of even how to relate with other people. So I grew up in an environment where on my street alone, our house happens to be the only house that didn't have a father figure. Every other person that I have as peers, friends, had father and mother in the house. But my house was different. And the amazing thing is, everyone in their homes, all the parents that I knew there, respected my mom. The funny thing, they gave her the accordance of respect. So the kind of background I had growing up, if I look at my parents' generation and the generation we are today, it's totally different. But there are values that one can learn from our parents' generation and still have it in this generation and work with this generation because over time things have evolved. Now, I mean, we know that during our parents' generation back home in Africa, is a culture of the man is the head of the home. Yes, he'll go out and he'll come back, as in he provides for the family, but he's most respected. He gives the last instruction. That is it. His word is final. Women are schooled and cultured to be submissive and all, but the repercussions in some cases are the reasons why it's a new deal in this generation from our own point of view, from where we are coming from as a culture. If you had homes where, like I said, I didn't grow up with my dad, I mean, it's something that could cause a lot of strife, anger, bitterness in my mom, but she didn't allow it to. But now we also are grown and we came from the training to always just make sure you find that person you have as your spouse and spend the best of your life with that person till God calls you up.
Mm.
It was a very terrible absence in her life, but we were able to learn from her own experience to make sure that it won't repeat itself again in our generation. Secondly, when you look at the type of life that most of our parents lived, you have homes where the man is even at home, but he brings other women in as second, third, fourth wives, which you have serious commotion, issues, and is a turbulent atmosphere because of the number of children and everything. But how they were able to just try and manage themselves in that home is still a mind-blowing thing. I can't understand. But because of that, a lot of ladies in our generation have vowed that no, they will not be second wives or third wives or fourth wives. So, as a result of all this, I believe most have seen it from the angle of I'm a woman, but you're not going to play on my intelligence. You're not going to play on my rights. You're not going to play on my. So look, it's me and you and this and all like that. And that is what I see in the society.
Right.
To,
So you grew up in an environment where you had a single parent. Your
yeah.
mom took care of you and your siblings. Now, you didn't have that first experience of seeing the dialogue between a man and a woman, husband and wife. How did that affect you growing up to now you becoming your own man, you being married, and then you are, nurturing your children and relating with
Like
your
you
wife?
said, I mean, we were part of the whole experience. My mom having a good Christian background, there were times she would just declare in the house, "Let's fast and pray for your father to come back. Let's pray for your dad." Sometimes we just say, "Okay, look, we're going all the way to visit your dad wherever he is. Sometimes the reception is terrible. Sometimes the reception is just there, but we stay, we come back home. So I was able to learn how to be like, look, you can't make this, you can't repeat this in your own time. Try
Okay.
best in every way possible to see you through. It's not going to be smooth. It's not going to be as pleasant as you would maybe hear or assume it should be. But each and every experience will add value to you as a man and to the relationship you share with another person in your home. So that was the kind of atmosphere I saw, and it wasn't easy, but hey, I just said, okay, cool. Thank God for the kind of growth I had in the church from a young age, being schooled in the word, being exposed to how beautiful it is to have you and your woman, you and your wife live in a home, build a family, build children up. And then when I moved into America, it's a different ball game, because in this system, it's one of the key values. For example, you want to run for an office, one of the values they look at is who you are as a family.
Come on.
Right.
Yeah. So it's something that I learned in the system. I was schooled in this system to understand it's all about you and your woman and how you can be a family man.
Having that power, shared power, and shared responsibility and equality in the relationship is how the Western world view, relationship and marriage. So, Seyi Opwa, how did you grow up? What was the culture like in your home?
Well, mine's a little bit, it's not the regular, we all grew up together and all that. I grew up in Nigeria, and up until the age of about 11, I was in Nigeria, went to school in Nigeria, elementary, and then of course high school. I was in boarding school for about a year and a half. And then at the age of 11, I was sent to London for high school to live with my uncle and my aunt, so my mom's brother and his wife, and they were in their 20s. So as a young kid, I got to see mom and dad really, they related well. But of course, back then, we grew up in a household where daddy was feared, very much feared. Like you hear his horn and everybody scatters. And,
Right.
and wasn't that whole, oh, daddy's home and let's hug and kiss and sit on his lap and joking. No, it was like, yes, sir. No, sir. No, thank you. And so that's how I grew up. And from 11 years old up until the age of about 17, I was in London. I didn't come home until I was 17. So I didn't really get to see mommy and daddy and doing all of that stuff. So, but my uncle and aunt, I got to see young love. I got to see that. I got to witness for my first ever experience of a couple fighting and separating and then divorce was with my uncle and aunt at the age of 13. I was 13, 14. And, dealing with that, separation and the trauma that it brought onto the woman. So we'll get into all of that later, but yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that background information and how you developed and how you got to understand the dynamic between a husband and wife. Now, Dr. Ish, you've heard Jedi and Seyi, their background, the culture, the society. What was your development like? What was your family, your parents, the dynamic like? Living in America, growing up in America.
Yeah, man. It's I grew up in a really big family, 5 sisters, 1 brother, 8 aunts, all around. So it was like, it was it's like we grew up in a village, right? Because it was like a very closed off kind of from the rest of the town type place. And my mom and dad were together for 56 years, and kind of like say, when our dad came home, we scattered like when kids, right? It was the same situation. Yes, sir. No, sir. They both worked. He made most of the money. But we all knew that mom had most of the power, right? Power is defined as your ability to control a situation and bring about a result. And when you think of it in that terms, well, yeah, mom's got the power. Like most moms in the house have the power, even if she's allowing dad to think he's got it, right? She's right, because she's got the hearts and minds of the kids. And so it was it was cool to watch them share it back and forth, right? And shift it back and forth when it comes to the big decisions and then the little decisions. And when it was time for somebody to step up and be firm and set boundaries, you could see dad step up. And when it was time for somebody to have a loving, caring, compassionate response, you could see her step up. And so it was cool to see how the power balance would shift depending on what the situation was. But, we always say we won the parent lottery, man. We got super, super lucky. We had two whole individuals who were extremely invested in making sure that we had a better life than they did, and we had more opportunities. So they made a lot of sacrifices. And then in us as kids, being able to see that sacrifice, you realize even more so how much power they truly had. So yeah, it was cool, man. I feel very fortunate to have been able to grow up in that kind of situation where everybody loved each other. Everybody was always around each other. We were always at one aunt's house or the other aunt's house, or somebody was in our house. And so I realized that is not a lot of people's experience. And so it's one of those, it's one of those things. I always feel like, we grew up broke, but we were wealthy because we had that.
We have the family. That's quite interesting. You had a different upbringing than my guest, and majority of African individuals. Right. And with your background, who makes the money or makes the most doesn't determine if you have that power to control decisions in the house. So it's quite interesting. With the African background, I mean, the men were the breadwinners. The men were the one, out there killing it, making the money, bringing them the bacon. So because of the economic power, they get to determine and make decisions on what happens inside and outside the house.
It's a very traditional setup. Yeah.
Exactly. So you have that patriarchy relationship going in, and the culture supported that. Then you're not coming into this Western world, and people are like, no, it doesn't work that way. We got to have equal share of power, equal share of responsibility. And as a matter of fact, which is going to lead to this, gender role, okay? Back in the days, you don't see the man in the kitchen. Oh, that's a taboo. You see the father in the kitchen, never. I mean, they're going to look at that man as being weak. So, but in this system, in this culture, and I don't want to call it even the Western world, because we are also seeing those that are in Africa or in any part of Eastern part of the world, but the generation is different, right? So you have the generation X and Y who think differently and say, okay, if I'm cooking at the same time, I would like you to kind of help me prep. You may not be the one to do all the work, but can you prep? You're not just going to sit around, cross your leg, and be watching football. Sunday night comes, that is not happening. We got to do everything together. Now, you being a celebrity coach, do you see this type of issue happening among celebrities? This power issue dominating each other?
It is that on steroids, right?
Wow.
Because not only is the celebrity mason making most of the money, they're usually making all the money, right? It's like that old Eddie Murphy joke. If I'm coming home with $2 or $3 million a year, you can't come in the door with your 20 or 30,000 and be like, go ahead and put that with the rest. You know what I mean? Nobody's trying to hear that. And so you've got that price. You've got the huge wealth disparity, right? You've got celebrities. We got this thing that people call clout and status, right? And so you got 100, 200,000 followers on Instagram. You got another 100,000 on Twitter. Everywhere you go, people recognize you. They want to take pictures. And so you got this thing, G-Fam, called ego, right? And that's hard to put that ego back in the box. Once you got this personal assistant here and these producers over here and all these folks who are willing to stroke it for you. And so you just see what I see with my celebrity couples, man, is that you see the star is here and then the celebrity is here and then the non-celebrity is really very small, kind of living in their shadows, man. And unless you are willing to have those open, grown folk conversations about it, it's only a matter of time before that dynamic is going to bite you in the backside, because it's just not going to work very well for long.
So how do they get to resolve that for them to have the practice of relationship equity and to kind of submit to one another that, okay, because I'm bringing home the most money doesn't mean that you are not equal as me. Doesn't mean that I don't get to hear your views. I don't get to hear your voice and your ideas on matters. How do you get them to have that dialogue and to reason that you are partner here, and as a matter of fact, you are co-founder of this relationship?
Yeah, so you've gotta help them redefine what value means, right? Is value money, right? Because if that's all it is, then this is going to be a very different type of relationship. And so you've got to help them redefine what is valuable to our system, right? Every relationship is a closed system. It's you and your partner. Everything else is closed. You guys get to decide what comes in or what leaves out of that system. So now what else is valuable to this system that we're calling our relationship? Okay, trust is valuable. Empathy is valuable. Friendship is valuable. The ability to forgive is valuable. The ability to not cheat is valuable, right? And so how do we, and who are we assigning all of these things to? So you really, the trick with celebrities, man, is you got to help each other see what they're bringing to the table, right? You got to chip away on some of that celeb ego, but then you got to help them see, listen, if your partner wasn't strong enough to live in your shadow, you wouldn't be who you are, because that is the majority of your support. And that's why they have more, just as much, if not more power in this relationship. And so it's all about getting them to reframe it. You know what I mean? And for some folks, it takes a lot. You know what I mean? Folks don't want to give up that status. They don't want to walk away from that clout. They want to, but then for some folks, they immediately see it. You know, they really do. I was having a talk with, I was having a session with a celebrity couple the other day. He's a big time R&B singer, and him and the wife are going through some problems, right? He's out on the road. He's got to go make his money. He's a sex symbol. He's doing the thing. She's at home with 4 kids, and one of them's a newborn, right? And he's, part of his thing is, oh man, you know what? Part of me feels like if I didn't have to be saddled with this wife and kids, how much bigger a star could I be? How much more of a celebrity could I be? How much more money could I be making? And I was like, that's one way to look at it. Or the other way to look at it would be, I wonder how much foolishness and trouble my wife and kids have kept me out of, because without that, I would have made some very different decisions. And in this day and age, I am sure I would not have the wife and kids, but I would probably have 8 or 9 baby mamas and 2 or 3 lawsuits. Right? And 2 or 3 lawsuits about somebody claiming I did something wrong when I didn't really. And so maybe the very thing you think is holding you back is probably the very thing that's allowed you to experience this life in the first place. So it's all about helping them reframe some stuff.
Reframe that, the perspective of it.
Yeah.
So Seyi, men think that, I don't want to say men, because we can frame it differently. People generally think that equality in marriage is 60-40 split or 50-50 split when it comes to the finances, especially if we are talking about non-celebrity, just like average people. What would be your response to those people that, okay, 60-40, 50-50, is that equality? Does that mean we get to share the same power? We have the same say on matters that impact both of us?
No, thank you for that question. And I loved what Dr. Ish was saying earlier. I was just really getting into it. See, when it comes to finances, it's a very sore subject. And it's a subject that a lot of people don't like to dive into, but it's also like the bedrock of marriage. It's like one of the biggest issues after sex, literally. So when women, and you've got to look at it in a way that you're having a cross-cultural thingy going on where African women have a certain belief, right, and African American women have a certain belief. And so where do we find a balance? If I state my opinion, you'll be like, what? And if she stated her opinion, you'd be like, what? It's whatever works in each individual's home. In some homes, the husband carries every responsibility. I know friends of mine whose the husbands carry all the responsibility. He doesn't even know how much his wife makes. So she does whatever she wants to do with her money. God bless that family. And in some families, it's 50-50. It's like you bring yours and I bring mine, and which is like one of the ones that we kind of tend to frown on. Like, why would you do 50-50? Whatever works for each family is what works. And in the families where they say 50-50, if it works that way, for example, I'm going to use, I don't know how to sugarcoat nothing. I don't know how to say examples. I'm going to use my life. When I was married, my husband did not believe that a woman should pay the bills because he felt that if she starts paying bills, and I'm going to just say, just as open as I can be, if a woman starts to pay bills, she starts to feel like she has some kind of power. So he did not allow me to put anything. The only thing I paid for literally was the cable bill. And he said, well, you watch cable and you have your cell phone, pay your bill and leave everything else. Because the minute you stop paying bills, you're going to think where and that's what it was. Yeah.
Because, yeah. And
you're gonna think you're equal. So every family dynamic is different.
Right.
And it's a good conversation. It takes good understanding. It takes two mature people, two people who've sat down and literally looked at their finances, what each is bringing in. What do you bring to the table? What am I bringing to the table? What are our bills? What are our expenses? What is our income? What can we afford? What can we not afford? What works for us? Because what works for us doesn't work for somebody else. So
right. So we can look at relationship equity, or you want to say equality, to say, okay, it's not 50-50, it's not 60-40. The husband can bring 60, the wife can bring 40. And the husband feels that if the wife is not making as much as him, he gets to control majority of the decision. So it's a matter of, do we have same power in the relationship, and not allowing material things to determine how much power we have. Because when you are allowing the material things to determine how much power you have, you can easily abuse the other person. And now you feel that the other person is subservient to you. And then you don't get to hear them out on matter that relates to the family. So you don't have that balance of thought. Jedi, I don't know if you want to add one thing to what has been said so far.
I mean, so far, Dr. Ish, which is a pleasure, having. I'm honored. A celebrity is here, and Seyi has spoken so well, and I agree totally what both of them have said. And in that light, I can say that the basic thing is it depends on the home itself. And I was telling someone recently when I had a live interview like this on the topic we discussed about marriage, every union is different from the other. Even though you are siblings, you grew up together, when you start having your own individual families, is a different ballgame. So how you manage it and how B manages, or how C manages, or how D, E, F, G like that is different. So rightly, like Seyi said, there are guys that even though they might not earn as much as expected, but they just feel responsible in their hearts to handle the bills in the house. And right. there are situations where there are couples where a woman might earn more than the guy, but the guy is footing the bill.
Right.
So it's just dependent. The skill is dependent on the union, and the only reason why issues can come up is still within the understanding of the parties involved.
Right.
It's
so
logic.
I get what you're saying, that everyone's relationship can be different, right? It's just a matter of the decision making and how well they can agree. But most often, the other party is not happy with the decision. The other party is not happy with the style and the system they are running on. Okay, one person is unsatisfied, right? And then you can have a man, for an example, who says, all right, I want to be making the most money. I want to be paying for all the bills. And the reason being that is because it feels that the money equates to power. So it can control a lot of things. And you see women in those kind of relationship being stay-at-home mom. They don't have any say. They are being abusive, okay? they're being abused rather, and the man comes home and say, all right, is my dinner ready? Is my food ready? All right, I need you to meet me in the other room. We're about to have sex. Sometimes they get raped. Sometimes they cannot say no to that man because they don't have any economic power. Now, here is the other side of that issue that I see that most men don't understand. If you are saying that I want to be the only breadwinner in this relationship, there is nothing wrong in that, making you feel empowered that you're doing your main duty. But what happens when you die? What are you thinking about your children, your wife? How are they going to continue living? Okay, how much money have you made, saved up, that is going to help that family to sustain? You see, men sometimes are just thinking about now, but they're not really planning out the future for their wives and for the generation. So you have not made that much money, and you are saying that, I want to be the only one controlling the house. What do you want to say? Actually, before you say something, I want to hear the thought of Dr. Ish real quick. And then I'm going to hear your thoughts, Jedi. Dr. Ish, do you want to say something to that?
What do I say to that?
This is a dialogue.
It is a, the thing, and I think in a big part of that, you're right, G-Fem. You know where we are these days collectively as humanity is, how do I feel better right now?
Right.
How do I feel the best I can in this moment right now? What is it that I need to feel better right now? And so for the guy who wants to say, hey, in order for me to feel my best in this relationship right now, I need to be the one making all the control making all the money, because in my mind, that equates to power. In my mind, that makes me important. In my mind, that makes me feel significant. In my mind, that makes me feel loved. And so it's an ultimately selfish decision, right? Unless you're Steve Jobs or Jeff Bezos and you're going to have income to pass down for generations upon generations, it's a very short-sighted thing. But it's short-sighted because he's just trying to feel good now, right? So my job as a psychiatrist is to take that. Okay, that's where you are. I get it. You want to be the breadwinner. You want to have the status, the clout. You want to be the most significant. You want to be significant in that way. Okay, why do you want that? Now let's peel it back one other layer. Why do you believe that's so important? Now let's peel it back one other layer. Who taught you to believe that? Right? Because he got it from somewhere. He saw this model somewhere. It didn't just pop up in his mind, right? He's not the first guy. He's seen it, right? And so he's seen it, and he's seen it work in a way that every other way he saw work didn't feel right for him. And so now let's challenge some of those assumptions and those beliefs. I got a few friends who are high up in law enforcement, FBI, and those type of government agencies, and they have these things that when we talk about intelligence, they have these things they call the ABMs, right? We're going to challenge your assumptions, we're going to challenge your biases, and we're going to challenge your mindset. Because whether you realize it or not, all of these things are coming to bear on every single decision you make. So you're assuming that money in this relationship gives you power. Maybe that's a false assumption. How can we challenge that, right? Your bias is that men are supposed to have the power because that's what you've seen, or that's how you think it's supposed to work. Okay, let's get to work on challenging some of that, because your mindset is one that is not, while that may work today and that may ultimately make you feel your best in this situation today, my guess is it's not making her very happy. And if she's not very happy, my guess is those kids aren't very happy. And by the way, this mindset that you have in play today is not going to fend well for your family 20 years from now. And so it's all about constantly shaking up and rattling that cage. You know what I mean?
Challenging that mindset, challenging that thought.
Yeah.
Challenging that thought. Jedi, what do you want to say?
I'm sorry. There's a way that you call my names, Femi. There's a way you call our names. I literally think it's my dad calling me like Seyi.
Really?
Really? Like, break you out of sleep. Wake up, brother.
Yeah, I think it's my bass voice, you know, that baritone. That baritone. That is what is going on. All right, let me try to change it. Mr. Jedi, what do you think?
Uh,
All right, Jedi.
I listened carefully to the illustrations and examples that you gave, and I would say, I don't know, I mean, Dr. Ish can correct me, or Seyi can correct me, or even you can correct me, but I don't think it's in most cases where um, the, I mean, I look at it from a point of view, if a guy has decided to say, okay, he wants to foot the bills in the house, an average girl who comes from a good background, who is well cultured and trained, yes, you're happy, but either your instincts or a very good cultured side of you should still be able to approach your husband to say, honey, you're doing a good job. I appreciate this, but I just wanted to find out, is it okay if I could help cover one or two? From beginning, when God created man and woman, a lot of people keep missing it. When the woman was created from the man, as when God took the rib, he said, the purpose was, I want to make you a helpmate, not a slave or a house help or a conditioned woman.
Right.
So we grew up in that culture where, yes, your own is to take care of the children, clean the house, wash the dishes, cook my food, where's my food, stay in your place. That's wrong. It was a very wrong orientation.
Right.
The woman is there to be your helpmate. Now, if you bask in the fact that your husband got the bills, whether he's making much money than you or not, and you cannot at least offer to say, look, babe, is it okay if I can at least cover one or two of the bills? I would just love to be a part of it. Any guy that reacts to that has a problem. And every lady that doesn't do that has a problem. So now it gets to my point. I feel there should be communication within the two places. Because you can also cover the bill. It's possible you can cover the bill and just dwell or bask in that atmosphere of, yeah, I'm the one in charge, I control the things, get my food, get everything, and you're killing the relationship, just like Dr. Ish said. You're killing the relationship. So I feel there should be a manner of communication in that regard, saying, I know you're not making that much, but you decided to take up the responsibilities as a man. I love you. I appreciate you for this. Please, is it okay if I can help cover this? Or, okay, you know what? While you're doing this and you did this, I can help in doing this. Sometimes that might just be what a man wants to hear.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I'm with you on that.
Do you understand?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I believe that somehow should be a communication between the man and the woman in such areas where there can be a balance. You know that, so that when the situation comes where either he lost a job or he lost a contract and there are bills in the house to pay, the same woman who indeed could go and say, I know you're doing this, but please let me help. For me, I see that as a lady who comes from an atmosphere of understanding of the relationship and responsibilities in the marriage. It's the same woman that I can guarantee will be like, babe, I understand. We'll keep searching for more jobs. We'll keep applying. Please don't give up. But while that is going on, I'll see the best that I can do, and let's see how we can match it up.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I don't
But Jedi, look, Jedi, that's a hard conversation, right? Because guys have these things called egos, and those egos are very fragile, right? So it's going to take a smart woman. It takes a woman who is very in touch with herself to know how to have that subtle, nuanced conversation, right? She shouldn't have to ask you, can I help? You know we broke. You know you can't cover all these bills. This is what I'm going to do. This is what you're going to do. But she's got to do it in such a way. See, that goes back to the closed system and who has the real power. When those types of conversations, when it's time to have those kind of conversations, you've got to have it with your partner in such a way that you don't make them feel less than, right? And it's not a conversation that makes you small. It's not a conversation that makes you weak. But you gotta remember, your back of your mind, it's always same team. You and me against these bills. You and me against these stereotypes. It's you and me against challenging all of these threats that are out here, right? So
and that's the problem that we face today.
Right.
That whole you and me is missing.
Right.
It's more I, my bills, it's my authority, my word, my this. And when people forget that it's a partnership, so to speak, what I hear lately is that, that this struggle is because that communication was not had. It was not discussed in the relationship. And that's why when it got into the marriage, it began to explode, right? But you can't use Toyota keys and put it in a Mercedes Benz and expect
Ain't that the truth?
It's not gonna drive, right? It's not gonna work. Some men, and I wanted to also understand that there are so many dynamics of men. Forget the race. We've got the Black man, we've got the African American, we've got the white man, we've got the Indian man, and we all have our different upbringings, our backgrounds, our cultures, our beliefs, our values. You heard Jedi say earlier that he comes from a family where his mom was a single mom. So his values are completely different from a man who was raised by father and mother. His values are completely different from a homeless Black man. His values are completely different from one whose father and mother passed, that they died, when he was young. So we have all these dynamics come into play in marriage. And then you have a man, for example, we're gonna take a man who says, I pay all the bills. You stay home, take care of our kids. When a man is doing that, he's basically saying, I own all authority. I have the say. So when you want to come in as a westernized woman and you're like, oh, we do this and my girlfriend and I are going here, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. He's like, I didn't tell you could do that. So then the woman comes like, this is not what, I'm my own woman. I do my own thing. And then the fight starts because he's expecting one thing and she's expecting another, and the communication was never had. And I see that that's the problem over and over again. So when a man says, I'm doing everything, women should ask, what comes with that? What comes with that offer? You're giving me the offer of a lifetime. Like, I would love for a man to tell me, I'll pay all the bills. You just sit and look pretty and take care of the kids. But then I know that there's something that's attached to that.
There's a price. There's a price that comes with that. Your
that
independence.
Is silent.
Right? He's buying your independence.
He's buying my independence.
And he's buying your complicity and things he does that you don't agree with, and he's buying your silence.
Come on now, and
right?
Your voice should not be boots.
What of you because who do it not to buy your independence, who do it not to buy off your level of power or whatever.
I'm gonna tell you what happens there. In that instance, for a man who doesn't do it to buy your voice and buy your independence, he gets to do things that you have no say in. Right. These are the men you see who are cheating on their wives, and the wife can't say anything because he pays all the bills. These are the men who will come home and do whatever we know people who do this all the time. They say, oh, just take care of the kids. I will do all the work.
Finish the question.
These are the men that are complaining.
What on, Jenny?
Right. I mean, come on, Jenny. You know.
These
come
men
on, Jenny.
are
You know better.
these men. I know men who work 60 hours a week because they won't let their wives put anything to the.
Wait, let's make something clear.
Yes. Come on now.
Go ahead.
Clear it up, Jenny.
You are right. I like the way you analyze the fact that there are different dynamics of men. I love that. And what I was trying to ask is, you just said it here. I would love a man who would just want me to sit and chill. If innocently and genuinely there are men who just do it to make sure you're happy and comfortable.
Find me that man. Find me that man, Jedi.
No, there are.
Okay, so Jedi, check this out.
Oh,
Check this
right.
out.
So
Jedi, no. I agree with what you are saying, that there are men who really love their wives, who really care about their wives, who really want to pamper their wives, who want to make a trophy wife, okay?
Right.
You look for this trophy wife, right? There are some, there are men out there who actually have this philosophy. Now, let me just flip it a little bit. What is the mindset of that woman about that man that gets to tell her, you chill in the house, I'm going to pamper you? I was watching a movie recently, about a lady who she's just a stay-at-home mom, and the husband buys her everything. Now this guy cheats on her, and she knows about it, and she does not argue against it.
Nope.
Okay, so it's not even about the man. Now it's the thought of the woman. How do you now see your husband who does all these things? And two, if he loses the job and he doesn't have the money, do you lose respect for him, or you still have the same respect that you had for him when he was still working?
Brilliant question.
So it's like we are looking at it from the man perspective, but now let's look at it at what this man is doing. How does she view it? What could be the repercussion to that? What could be the consequences or the negative effects of that? Dr. Ish.
What question of a man who wants to make you happy, who covers the bills, but still allows you walk? You walk, you have your career, everything. You earn your.
Okay, before we answer that, let me hear what Dr. Ish wants to say.
Well, so listen. I had a couple in therapy who was they were this exact couple, right? He didn't really want the trophy wife, but the way it was set up was he was a big time famous author, right? Sold a bazillion books. Everybody knew who he was. Everywhere they went, they had 8 kids at home, right? And she stayed home. She took care of the kids. She supported him in that way. And one of the conversations that was a very real and very honest conversation, she appreciated everything he did out there making the bread and doing all that stuff. He appreciated her. He asked her one day, you know what is it how do you really feel about me being the breadwinner? How do you feel about the fact that I make all the money and I get all the notoriety and I get all the pats on the back? What would happen to us if one day I come home and I lost it all? Would you still love me? And she looked at him and she said, oh my God, of course, you're still the same guy. I would still love you. I will miss you a lot because I'm leaving, but I still love you. Let's just be honest. That has weight, right? That has value. And to pretend that it doesn't, yeah, we wish there were some altruistic, magnanimous people out there who would come in and just shower you with gifts and affection, and there's nothing you got to do in return. But we know that's not the same. You know that's not true. That's a transactional thing, especially when you talk about money. It's impossible not to think of it as a transactional thing. There is a beauty for power trade-off. I spent a lot of time in Hollywood. What do you think I see? Old rich guys with young, beautiful models. It's a trade. We don't have to discuss it. We don't have to say it out loud. There is a money for beauty trade-off. We know that it exists, right? That is what's happening. There is a control for lifestyle trade-off. Okay, I'll let you have the control. You make the money, you go do the thing, and I'll allow you to control some things in my life because it allows me to go to the beach every morning and do yoga and come home and have our chef fix us this delicious lunch for me that I can tweet about and send you pictures of because, oh, by the way, you ain't there because you out making the money because you think you're control, right? So it's all about the levels of control we're willing to accept. It's all about the sacrifices that matter to us and those sacrifices that don't, that are going to allow us, like Seyi said, to live my best life, right? Because that's just the culture. That's just where we are as a culture. It's not about it's about my best life. They call it a selfie because I'm taking a picture of myself. I'm not taking a picture of you, right? And that's just where we are right now. So it's all about those little micro settling moments that, if you're not careful, over the long haul leads you to resentment and leads you to be very unhappy in a long-term relationship if that's the way you set it up, and you don't have the foresight to have those open, honest conversations.
Yeah. Jedi, now going back to your question. So you had asked if the man actually allow the wife to work, right? Okay.
Earns her money, yeah.
Okay. So if the husband allows the wife to work, to me, that is saying that there is an equal share in power. And the man does not have the mindset that my money that I'm bringing in gives me power. You see, what we are talking about is the mindset, not the mindset. For anyone to elicit an action, it comes from the mind first. And from the mind, it comes from an information that the man or the woman has been fed. So either that information comes from childhood, comes from friends, or watching parents. So information goes into the mind, processed, and then you begin, if you understand it, then you begin to act on it. So it's the mindset behind the role and what we get to do in the relationship. So if the man say, all right, I'm okay with my wife working and bringing home the same amount of money, the question now comes with, do you care if she makes more than you? That is the question I would like to ask the man. Do you care if your wife makes more than you? Do you still see her as equal? Or you still see her, or you think that she makes more than you are now going to be inferior or feel like less of a man? Because that is what happens. I was talking to a client of mine who wanted to know of what is going on in our marriage. And she says, my husband is just a typical man. I said, what do you mean? Explain this. He said, well, he's a man that he wants you to work, but he doesn't want you to make more than him. Because that is the mindset of, he still feels that money equates to control or to power. And if that woman were to make way more than him, he's going to feel less of a man. You see, that is the problem we are having, that money doesn't make you a man, or a bigger man or a small man. Even to the woman, if you make way more than your husband, doesn't mean you have more power than your husband. Doesn't mean you should disrespect him. You can still reason together and work together as a team. So who gets to make more doesn't mean you get to make decision. Can we make decision together? Something happened to me a few weeks ago. Check this out. I was on the phone on a business call, in a sense, and this lady happens to be an African-American lady. And she was selling me a service. And at the end of the service, she asked, what is my decision? I said, well, I got to talk to my wife about it, and then I will get back to you. And she was shocked about my response. She said, aren't you from Africa? I said, yeah. I said, to be precise, from Nigeria. She said, well, she's dated many African men and Nigerian, and she knows that they make the decision. And I responded, I said, wow, that is interesting, but I'm different. I'm a leader of all, not a leader of none. Wherever I'm leading, I carry them along. So we have this whole notion of even decision-making in the house. Because I get to make the most money, do I even need to even talk to my wife about it before I make a decision on what we get to do? So this whole power lays in so many areas and facets of the family. So how does this happen when decision gets to be made in the house? Or when you and your partner, you have ideas, your partner has an opinion, you have an opinion. How do you best come up with the right solution? Whose idea do you submit to? Now I'm coming up with the issue of submission. Whose idea do you submit to? Do you need to submit to your husband because it is your husband or not? I want you to answer that question.
What was it?
So the question is, now I'm going to an issue of submission.
Submission, okay.
Right? And when it comes to dialogue, when it comes to decision making.
Right.
So it happens that there's so many things in relationship that you and your partner will get to talk about. You might want to talk about where you want to go for dinner, how much you want to spend, taking the children to a private school or public school, giving your parents money, helping your in-law. I mean, there's so many situations that happen in the family that husband and wife gets to decide. And everyone has different opinions. Now, how do you expect them to resolve such matter, especially if you grow up in a culture where they say the woman have to be submissive to the man?
Well, my God, see, this whole relationship topic is so deep, it's so intricate, so sensitive. Right now, we have about 30-something people fluctuating in and out of this conversation. And I've seen different races basically like watching us right now. Your wife says, yes, baby, by the way. She's like watching.
Yeah, baby. Ooh,
since I'm Nigerian and, you're Nigerian, Jedi's Nigerian, let's talk about the Nigerian man. I sold cruises in Houston for about 5 years. I never once heard a Nigerian man say to me, when I said, how about that cruise? Let's lock in this Royal Caribbean cruise for 7 days. This is a great deal. You don't want to miss this deal. This deal is going in 30 minutes. You're going to lose it. If you lose it, it's gone forever, blah, blah, blah. I never heard a Nigerian man say, let me get back to you. I have to talk to my wife. Most other men would say, I'm going to have to call you back. I'm like, but you're going to miss the deal. But I got to talk to my wife. So for the Nigerian men, and I'm not doing this to knock y'all down, 70%, Jenny, don't feel knocked down, 70%, maybe even 85% will not consult with their wives first. If you're a Nigerian man and you know I'm talking to you, I love you, but that's just the way it is. Nigerian women, tell me if I'm right or wrong. Now, we have this saying where we say money shouldn't matter, where it's a partnership, it's the same pot, we are all, we're a team and blah, blah, blah. But you guys have heard the saying that money talks and the other walks. So money has a say. Money is the third voice in your house if you let it. It should really be God, your husband, and then you making those decisions. But then we've seen very many families happen that the wife takes certifications because she's at home, pregnant, having, the maternity leave, takes a certification course, boom, gets a certification, starts making $15,000 more than her husband. Here comes the trouble. Oh, you talk to me this way because you're making more money than me now? And she's like, I didn't even say nothing. Oh, you look at me funny now because you make more money? I mean, it just starts to go on and on and on like that. Like, you can't make decisions. So when we talk about money in the African home, best believe most African homes, the man is always the authority figure. Woman always takes the second place. Now, when we try to do the whole, it's a partnership thing, that's where you now start to see the husband and the wife, the power struggle. And then you ask, why is there abuse in this home? Because we've tried to say that money doesn't matter. We've tried to say that it's not, we're a partnership, but in their subconscious, the information you mentioned earlier, GFEM, that's feeding into the mind of this African man is, you have to be on top. She's beneath you. You are on top. She's beneath you. That's where I start to see more Nigerian men take a second and third job. And they're working harder and staying out of the home because they want to make more than the wife. It becomes a competition. Yeah, I can't hear you anymore, GFEM.
Oh, competition. That's the right word.
What is killing marriages today? I salute every marriage that's working their best to make sure that it's working. Y'all are like getting together. You guys are the A team doing your thing. I salute you guys. But there are so many marriages, African marriages, Nigerian marriages, specifically where there's this competition. Even when I wasn't making any money, the fear of, oh, she's going to be making more money than me now. Let me go ahead and go back to school. Oh, let me go ahead and get my master's degree because, once she gets into the job market, she's going to be like a manager now. This needs to stop. It should be one pot. It should be whatever you bring to the table, it's a blessing. I provide. The job of a man is the job of a provider. The job of a woman is a nurturer. Now, listen, I didn't say the place. I said the job. God gave each and every one of us a job when we came to earth. The job of a man is a provider. The job of a woman is a nurturer. She's a helpmeet. So whatever you bring is a bonus to me. Whatever you bring is an addition to me. Whatever you bring is not supposed to equate to what I'm bringing. It's a blessing. So you look at your wife as a blessing. You're an addition to me. But we don't see that anymore in marriages. And that's where we're trying to get to, where we need to go back to that and train these ones to go back to that.
I agree. That's a beautiful picture, but that's just not the world we live in, right? Because
Correct.
the world we live in teaches us to value very different things, right?
Correct.
I don't value your ability to nurture as much as I value my $150,000 I make every year.
Dr. Ish, we can't see your face. We can hear you, but we cannot see your face.
Sorry about that. I was saying, right, the world we live in teaches us to value very different things depending on what part of the world you grew up in, right? Yeah. Some things are cultural, and then some things are strictly economics. But the world, if you grew up here or anywhere near in the West or not, far from the East, you watch TV, you listen to radio. It teaches you to value very different things, right? And so, yeah, I get it. That works. What Seyi described works if you have some value for the person who's doing the nurturing, right? If you have value for people with empathy, if you have value, if you assign value to somebody who can give a loving.
Just lost you there a little bit.
And I love what he's saying.
If you assign value, but most of us here have been taught to assign, right? So, but most of us here, by the time we're ready to start dating, we've assigned value. We've learned to equate value with very different things. Value is the thing I can buy, right? My car has value. My clothes have value. My sneakers have value. My home has value. And the thing that assigns that value tells me how much I paid for it. Oh, by the way, and I paid for it with the money that I made. And so it's a very different thing. But you know, for the guys who grew up, and it's hard to unlearn your culture, right? It's hard to unlearn tradition. Not impossible, but it's hard to do it. But imagine how much more free your life could be if you were okay with her earning just as much money, if not you. I have a ton of guy friends. They're like, I hope and pray I find me a woman who makes more money than me. Then I can stay home and take care of the kids, and I'll be totally fine, right? But again, you've got to be okay with who you are, right? It all goes back to understanding who you are, what it is you're bringing to the table that has value, that has worth, and not allowing for anybody to devalue that.
Correct.
Right.
And I love what you said about that. Dr. Miles Monroe actually says something. He says, whatever you don't value, you will abuse.
Right.
Whatever you don't value, you're going to abuse it. And so a man actually values, some men actually value, like I know somebody that values, I don't value you for what you can cook up in the kitchen. I value you that you're out there and you're the boss lady.
Right.
I value that you're up in the morning, you got your suit on, and you are going to rock it. And I'm going to support you. I'm going to work too, but so whatever you have, if you don't see the value in it, your wife could be making $120,000 and you don't care, and you treat her like dirt, because what you actually value is the one making that nice jollof rice and chicken and stew and goat meat and all that, and take care of the house. So value is so important. Thank you for that addition.
And it's also important to understand that we need to be challenging ideologies and challenging culture, challenging traditions. When we don't do that, we become an illiterate. And a new definition of illiterate is not someone who cannot read or write. An illiterate person in this modern age is someone who cannot unlearn what they've learned to relearn a new information. Because the world is not gonna stay the same. The life the baby boomers lived in those days, created by the culture, it's not the life that the Gen X, the Gen Y, and the upcoming Gen Z are gonna be living. And if we are not adapting and understanding that these people are different, they think differently, there is more shared responsibilities. Nobody wants to work for 70 years or 80 years and they die. It's like, and I'm here, being subservient, and my needs are not being met. And you are telling me I cannot become a CEO because I'm a woman, because of my gender. Like, what are we even teaching our daughters? Are you telling your daughter doesn't have a gift? I mean, imagine a daughter who is gifted to become a CEO, to run a company, to run an empire. But because you grew up in a culture and a tradition that says, oh, a place of woman is to stay behind at home and nurture the kids. And you now stifle that person's potential because of what you want to control and gain and the culture that you've learned that from. What are you doing? You're not helping the woman. So can we both have power individuals, become power couple? There are benefits to this. If you're making 100K, your partner is making 100K, that is 200K coming home. I mean, what can you do with such money? I mean, it's a lot you can do with that. And two, you don't have to work 4 or 5 jobs. You don't have to feel like, I have to do all these things because I was told a man is a provider. And who told you that a woman is not a provider? Like, where did you read that says a woman is not a provider? Now, Bible talks, and this is why I love my Christian people. I love having dialogue on this. Okay.
Jenny, why are you laughing? Jenny, why are you laughing? Let us
want to stay.
In as much as, I'm sorry to cut you, but as I agree, to a certain extent, I don't agree. Because, like what Dr. Ish said earlier on, the world we live in and the reality we live in is totally different.
Right.
From what you say. Like, wow. We live in a Western world where the attention in the home is in favor of the woman. If the woman should pick up a phone and call the cops, they will listen to her rather than the man.
Right.
Do you understand? So there are, like, if I pick...
Not in South Carolina.
You said nothing
Depends-
in South Carolina.
It depends on what part of the country you live in, brother. Because some part of the country, she might as well be speaking Swahili because they ain't listening to her at all.
Wow.
But you understand what I'm trying to say.
But
Like,
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
see, like, in the reality we live in today, there are so many things. Oh my God, my daughter.
Oh, your daughter is there.
Oh,
She's showing you who's got the power. She's
Right.
got the power right now.
There are so many complexities in the atmosphere today, in the
That's right.
issues of relationships, that you might be shocked. In as much as we're addressing the mindset for the men, you'll be shocked and amazed that the mindset from the women's perspective is another thing entirely.
All right, let's talk about it, Jedi.
I love what you said, GFM, when you were like saying, is this what you're going to be telling your daughter? Is this what you're going to be? What I pick from there and what I've been saying for us for a whole while now is our generation has the advantage to communicate with children because we didn't have that growing up. But we have the opportunity right now to build another legacy entirely. A few days ago, I was in the kitchen doing dishes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do dishes because it's my duty to do dishes. I just love a clean atmosphere when I cook or when I eat it. Do you understand? Now, it doesn't mean it's a role and responsibility of Jedi to do the dishes in the house.
Right.
Do you understand? Now, I just pictured it. If my daughter was going to walk up to me, I'm like, oh, Daddy, you're doing the dishes. Or I have the responsibility to teach her and let her understand that as a man, it's not really in my place of duty to do it, but it's the right thing to do when you finish eating or while you're cooking. Need to have a clean atmosphere. So you won't grow up thinking your husband is the one that should be in the kitchen cleaning the dishes. So we owe it a lot to raise men and women from our sons and daughters who will be taught the right values on what to approach to life. Because the complexities we see out here today, you'll be amazed at the scenarios you give, there are other versions of it.
Mm-hmm.
And we can discuss and talk about it from now till
Absolutely.
Right. So we need to what I'm picking from what you said, Jedi, and which is aligned with this ideology of relationship equity, which I love so much. And actually, my article about relationship equity actually got featured on ABC today. So it's a phenomenon. So thank you very much. Now, when we speak about relationship equity, it also relates to gender role, what we consider a gender role. Okay, because we are made to believe that a particular role or a particular duty or activity in the house is associated to a particular gender. For an example, cooking, washing dishes, like we think and we synonymize that to a woman. But when it comes to relationship equity, it's not a gender role. It's a matter of what are your gifts, what are your skill sets, what are your constraints, okay? That's how we determine what gets to happen or who performs a particular function in the house. Because there are different constraints and there are different gifting. I mean, there are some men right now that they are cook and they are making millions of dollars. But in some culture, they will tell you, oh, no. That's not the place of a man. Well, because he's a man, because of his gender? I mean, I traveled to Hawaii many years ago. And when I went onto Hawaii, they took me to different villages. So I had an excursion that took me to different villages. And I was surprised to find a culture where the men, the husbands, they are the one responsible to cook, not the wives, not the woman, not the lady in the house. So are we to now say like those men are weak? Or we are looking at it that these men are being responsible men. They are taking care of their family. So it's a mindset thing, and it's how do we see it? Are we looking at a family structure and I'm trying to take care of my family, or I'm trying to determine my role based on my gender and based on what society dictates that my role should be? And what if I don't have gift in that role? There are many homes today where the wives cannot cook very well than the husband. And because they have been made to believe that the place of the kitchen is the wife, and now the children are just eating all bad of food. You know, they're not happy with the food that the mommy is cooking. And the man will not cook because, you know,
So, Phil,
they're not supposed to do that.
Phil, I wanna say this, and then I apologize. I'm gonna have to get out of here, man. But
That's okay.
It all goes back to that super smart thing you said earlier, which is how do we unlearn what we were taught, right? We as kids, we live what we learn. And this is the way we saw mom and dad do it, so that must be the way it works, right? Even maybe they were happy, it's what we know. We live what we learn, and so it's how do you unlearn what you were taught, right? And how do you expand what you know? And you only expand what you know by getting around other groups of people who do it differently. Just because they do it different doesn't mean they do it better, doesn't mean they do it worse. We're all trying to get to that same end, right? I love that quote from Ram Dass that says, listen, we're all just walking each other home, right? And there's no particular way we gotta walk, right? There's many different ways to get it done. And so I'm all about unlearning those false assumptions and expanding what it is you know to be true. And always, always, always have the insight and be able to self-reflect enough to test what it is you think you know to be true, right? Because in the end, we all want the one thing, which is just to be happy. And how do you define that? And how do you move forward with that? So, man, I appreciate you having me on, brother. I really do. I enjoyed this.
Yeah, Dr. Ish, it's quite a pleasure. Thank you for the time. We really appreciate your presence here and everything you shared. Where can people follow you?
Yeah, absolutely. Go to my website, drishmajor.com. GFM got a lot of cool free stuff that I'm giving away on there. You know, the quarantine has hit a lot of folks really, really hard. So got a lot of free stuff that I do with the celebrity couples on the show that you can download on the site for free. Got a take-home boot camp that I'm going for half price for the whole month of June. Go there and get that. If you sign up early, you get a free session with me. Follow me on Instagram. Follow me on Twitter. Follow me on Facebook, Dr. Ish Major, all the same thing. And by all means, July 2nd, the new season of Marriage Boot Camp will be here, and it is drama on top of drama.
On top of drama.
I cannot wait. I cannot wait to watch it. I cannot wait to watch it. Thank you once again, Dr. Ish.
Thank you,
Dr.
my friend. Enjoy y'all. Let me know when I can come back on, man. Would love to. Thank you so much.
All right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be rounding up in the next few minutes. Our time is far spent. And I just want to get the opinion, last words, from our major speaker and the author. All right. What is the last thing that you want to say to the people? And folks that are joining on Facebook, thank you for all your comments. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I should just read some comments real quick.
Yes, real quick.
Let me just read some comments.
While you're reading that, you're going to see a lot of funny comments too. But
my goodness. How do I even go back to all these comments? Lovely books. How do you define happiness? Nice discussion, guys. Unlearn. Let me click some of these comments right here. It's going to allow me to see some of these comments. And folks joining us on Instagram, God bless you. Appreciate you so much.
Let's talk about this one from Lovely Books. She says, Can we talk about men who don't have good grooming or cannot keep a room clean? Teach your sons so that the wives can have peace and joy. And that brings me to what I was going to say about what really brings happiness in the home is empowerment. What really brings happiness in the home is empowerment, and this whole idea of cross-training one another. I've seen marriages where a husband dies and the woman is completely useless, doesn't know how to do some certain functions, such as, screw on a light bulb. change her tire if she has to. Oh yeah, of course you can go to Just Tires. Or she doesn't know how to change the air filter, things like that. So I believe in empowerment so much that I believe it's very important that we cross-train our children. Never allow anyone to say it to your daughter. And my daughter came to me one day and she said, Mommy, you gotta call grandpa and tell grandpa to stop saying this. And I said, what? She says, every time I try to fix the TV when the TV is broken or fix the printer when the printer is broken, grandpa says, get out of there, go to the kitchen. And Wilma's place was in the kitchen. Like, okay, well, we'll see about that. This chair I'm sitting on, when the chair came, I'm the lazy, I don't like to do the DIY thing unless I really have to. This chair came in a big old box. My daughter took it all out, read the instructions, and started putting it together. She said to me, Mommy, can you do a video and send it to Daddy for me to let him know that I know how to fix stuff, just like Timmy can. They always say, only Timmy can do this. Timmy is the boy. He should be able to fix it. You go sit down. So I want us to change that mentality. Teach your boys to clean the room. Teach your boys to make some rice and stew. Teach your boys to vacuum. Teach your girls to fix the chair. Like, we've got to cross-train everyone and empower one another so that no one's ever feeling useless.
Yes.
That's why we have people on the workplace who want to act like they can't do some certain things because it's not the place. It's not my place to do it. So I really believe, I love what Bookie said about teach your boys. It's time for us women. We can't fix you guys. The guys who are 40 and above, we can't fix y'all. I could have a conversation on Facebook Live from now till next year. I cannot fix you because you are grown and you are set in your ways. But what we can fix is our 11-year-olds, our 7-year-old boys, our 8-year-old daughters, and help them be better women. Women who are empowered, who know better, who've learned from our mistakes, boys who've learned from daddy's mistake. Jedi said something powerful earlier, that his dad was not in the home, but he made up his mind at a young age that his marriage was not going to be like that. He was going to be present, and he was going to be available for his children. So if my kids see me, if his kids see him washing the dishes, so be it. We're making this house better. We're making it cleaner. We're making it more livable. That's how homes should be. And that's what we want to do with equity.
Awesome. Jumbo, I see you. Adetimbo, I see you. Dominic, I see you. Ivan, I see you. Nigeria Extreme. P. Sean, what's going on, my brother? AOF, Siwe, I see you on Instagram. Lottie Jackson, I see you. God bless you. Cindy, thank you. Thank you. God bless you guys for joining today. I appreciate you. We're about to round up. And I just want to point out to what my sister Seyi said. It's important that we eliminate what we call double standard in the relationship, especially for our children that are coming up, that are growing. And I mean, I was listening to, I know if I talk about this, it's probably going to expand to another 20 minutes of discussion. I really don't want to bring this up, but I was hearing a discussion of a lady asking someone about a man asking somebody, a host, about him not disciplining his daughter. And what is the reason why he doesn't want to discipline his daughter? He doesn't want to spank his daughter for doing wrong things. And he said the reason why is I don't want that to be defined or to make the daughter think that it's okay for a man to spank you, so that when she grows up, she's not allowing men to lay hands on her. And I tend to understand, okay, that makes sense that you don't want to spank because you are thinking that way. But I mean, what happens to your son? So are you saying that it's okay to spank your son and not spank the girl?
Double standards.
Double standard. And how do you think that son is going to start looking at you? He's going to look at you that you don't love me, but you love his sister.
Correct.
And spanking your daughter it's not going to be interpreted that, then when she grows up, it's okay for a man to touch her or to lay hands. No, I mean, you got to have a dialogue. Like, daddy is spanking you or disciplining you because of what you did wrong. Yes, you're not going to allow a man, your husband, to touch you. You have such dialogue. So I think sometimes we make a decision based on what can suit us right now, or not having a 360-degree thinking about it. That what with this decision, what could be the ramification of it? What could be the consequences of it? How is it going to affect my son or affect the other gender or affect my wife? So I guess that everyone on this platform tonight, you've gathered some information that can help you to make what I consider an informed decision, because we've given you enough information. Seyi, where can people find you?
I am all over social media, Seyi Hopewell. Find me on Instagram. I'd love for you to follow me on Instagram. I'm doing this whole, fitness and weight loss journey. I want you to follow me, support me, and tap in for the encouragement. You can find me anytime on social media. And I love being a blessing to people. So if you ever need encouragement in the area of relationship, you need encouragement. Hear me say encouragement. I didn't say I'm a relationship expert. Encouragement to make it work. Encouragement to fix what needs to be fixed. Encouragement not to give up. That's what I do. So find me on Instagram, Seyi Hopewell Speaker. If you're on Instagram or Facebook on June 2nd, Father's Day, June 21st, Sunday at 2 p.m., I'm having a conversation about men, our men, your power, the hashtag, and your priorities. So I would love for you to join me. If you're a man, you want to join me in the conversation about fathers, I would love to have you. Thank you so much for having me, GFAM. I see all my friends, my sisters, my family, good people. Thank you so much for joining and watching and just honoring me and my invitation to join GFAM's show. Thank you so much, guys.
Awesome. So, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to hear this as we round up this evening. The book of 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 11 to 12 says this. I want you to master this and pick your Bible and read it at your own time. 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 11 through 12 says this. In the Lord, a woman is not independent of a man, not a man independent of a woman. For a woman is created out of a man, and a man comes from a woman, and they are both created by God. Did you catch that? That is to tell you that we are both equal in the sight of God, and we both depend on each other, and we should be working towards unity, towards teamwork. We should avoid competition, because guess what? When you compete, one person wins and the other person loses. Just in the same situation that when you watch game. And when you both draw, guess what is going to happen again? You have to do a rematch. One person wins and one person loses. So you don't want competition in your relationship. I want to help hundreds of couples achieve what I call relationship equity, which we've been talking about. On June 24th, I want to achieve this. And I want you and I to work together to achieve this. I'm the founder of National Relationship Equity Day. And June 24th has been granted as a national day to celebrate relationship equity. I want to help as many couples achieve relationship equity in their marriages. And here is how you and I can work together to achieve this goal. Number one, I'll be posting the badge of National Relationship Equity Day on June 24th on my social media page. And my social media handle is IG, Facebook at GFM Speaks. That is GFM Speaks with an S, and Twitter at GFM Radio. So go to my page on that day, June 24th, copy that badge and post it on your page. And then with the hashtag National Relationship Equity Day. 2, if you chose not to post that badge, please just share a picture of you. If you are single, share a picture of you. Or if you have a boyfriend, you are married, share a picture of you and your partner with the hashtag National Relationship Equity Day. Because everyone loves a cute couple's picture or a single picture. And lastly, which is very, very important, switch roles for that day with your partner. Whatever role that has been assigned to a particular gender in your relationship, let the other gender do it that day. The idea is to practice not making an activity a gender role, but your interest, your gift, and your skill set leading the way. For instance, changing diapers, cooking, making decisions, laying the bed, teaching the kids, bathing the kids, taking them to bed, taking the trash out, washing dishes, fixing something in the house, sweeping the floor, washing the bathroom. If these are roles played by a particular gender, kindly exchange that role that day. Just pick a role to exchange with your partner. By switching these activities, it is not only achieving gender equity in your relationship, it also allows you to see how much effort it takes to do what the other person does for the family, and ultimately makes the other person feel appreciated for being relieved of that particular duty. Perhaps you have any question or suggestion on how you want to partner with us, please just write to info@nationalrelationshipequityday.org. info@nationalrelationshipequityday.org. Or better yet, just DM me, send it to my social media page, IG GFM Speaks, Facebook GFM Speaks, or this page that you're watching on Facebook right now. Just send me a message, or Twitter @GFM Radio. Right now, what you can do for us is broadcast this information that we are giving. Share this on your timeline, share it with your partner, share it with your friends, share it with your group that you are in as well. Let's make 2020 the year of relationship equity. Can we do that? Can we make 2020 the year of relationship equity? Please let us do that. Once again, thank you for joining us on Instagram and Facebook. I'm always live here on Instagram and Facebook every Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern Time and 7 p.m. 6 Central. And next week, Wednesday is June 24th. And I'm going to be bringing some other speakers to talk about relationship equity, because that is the day we are going to be celebrating this awesome ideology. National Relationship Equity Day, June 24th. Be on the lookout for that. I am yours truly, Dr. Femi Ogunjinmi, Global Relationship Expert. Thank you very much. Oh, and by the way, I've been given a new name by my Kenya people called Onyango. Onyango. All right. So name's been added to my name right now. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you same time next week. Cheers to your improvement. Awesome.
Whew.
Madam Seyi.
Good job. Good
Thank
job.
you so much.